New numbers are revealing the stark collapse of tourism in the Iberian Peninsula. International travel to Spain fell more than 97% in June compared to June of last year. Portuguese hotels saw a 96% drop in overnight stays by foreign travellers during that same period. Axel Hefer is CEO of the hotel search site Trivago. He joins us live now from Düsseldorf, Germany, via Skype. Axel, thank you so much for being with us. So just walk us through how the last 4 months have been for Trivago. How has the pandemic affected your business? And are you seeing a slight recovery in demand as certain countries start reopening in terms of business activity?
Yeah, I mean, the last 4 months have indeed been extraordinary. So we've seen in March, end of February, beginning of March, obviously some first signs coming from Asia. And then in March, within 2 weeks, really, the whole Western market has stopped traveling. Most of the main markets went into lockdown, and April was pretty much without any travel activity. What we've seen then is that starting with the US, Germany, New Zealand, and some others in mid of May, travel activity did start and came back. And there, I mean, just to give an idea, right now, Germany is the market that is most recovered and pretty stable. The demand for really leisure nature destinations is almost at previous year's levels. Whereas in other regions, like in the US, the recovery stopped mid of June when the number of COVID-19 cases was on the rise again, and really travel activity has come back down.
So leisure, nature, travel and tourism, you've seen a rebound in that. How long do you think it would take, in parts of Europe at least, to see a rebound in city tourism?
We see some very early signs of recovery of city trips, but the reality is that the reason to travel to a big metropolitan city is basically the activity there. So the restaurants, the opera, the museums, and a lot of these attractions are currently restricted or not open at all. So there's a lot less reason to travel. So we do expect a recovery, but recovery to previous year's levels will, at the earliest, happen next year.
You know, in order for the travel industry to recover, I mean, obviously everybody's suffering right now who works in travel. In order for the travel sector to recover, some people say, listen, it's better to sort of close things down and suffer, I guess, in the short term in order for things to get back to normal in the long term. Would you agree with that? I mean, a lot of people are saying it's, you know, it's either pay now or pay later. But if you pay later, it will be with interest. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the key thing is for the travel industry not to lose the trust of the travelers, and to do that we need to act responsibly, and that's currently very difficult because the situation is changing very quickly. To decide really whether we want to promote travel or discourage travel is really changing from 1 week to the other. And in a way, I do agree with what you've said. The key thing for the industry will be to have a predictable and safe recovery to travel next year. And this year will be an up and down in many parts of the world anyhow. And so next year is much more important.
A lot of people have taken issue, a lot of countries rather have taken issue with you know, some of the quarantine rules, for example, that the UK has imposed on countries like Spain, for example. You've got quarantine rules so that when people visit a certain country, they then, if they're coming back to the UK, they then have to quarantine for 14 days. On top of that, there isn't really that much coordination between various countries in terms of what's happening. Obviously, countries like the UK have to keep their citizens safe. Is there a way to go about it that isn't so disruptive to the travel sector, not just in terms of businesses like yours, but for individual travelers as well?
I mean, to me, the key thing is predictability. If you define very clear rules, what is happening at which point in time, it is much easier for travelers to plan ahead and also then accept measures in case they are implemented. The worst thing is if there is an unpredictable change in regulation, and so that's why I do understand quarantine requirements being put in place. On the other hand, I think it is much better if you give a very clear structure in which kind of cases you are going to impose them, and to check whether there are other means like testing on arrival that could actually substitute quarantine.
All right, Axel Hefer, live for us. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.